Hi everyone, Mr. Earl back with you for another math video. But before we get started, did you hear the one about the doctor who walked into the waiting room and he didn't know which patient to operate on first? That's when the Dudley Charlton student said, "Doc, use the order of operations." Today's topic is ratios and rates. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities using division. And there are three ways that we can write a ratio. As you can see on the screen here, we can write a ratio with the two numbers separated by a colon, or the two numbers separated by the word 2, or you can write it as a fraction with one number on top of another. I'm going to show you some examples. In this first example, I have some stickers. Some are orange and some are green. We would say that the ratio of orange to green stickers in this picture is 3:5. Let's take a look at another example. In this second example, I have some M&Ms and some marshmallows. In this picture, we would say our ratio of M&Ms to marshmallows is 5:7. If we said what is the ratio of M&Ms to all of the candy, what do you think we'd say then? If you said 5:12, then you would be correct. It's important to note that the order matters. The first number in the ratio should represent the quantity of the first item. Let's also talk about equivalent ratios. When you write two equivalent ratios, it's two ratios that are equal to each other. And there is a way that we can create that using what's called a table. I have a table right here on my whiteboard already set up, and the first ratio that you'll see in here is 4:7. And I want to write three equivalent ratios for 4:7. So I've set up my table here with some instructions right at the top of each one of those boxes that can help me write some equivalent ratios. All we really need to do is take these two numbers, 4 and 7, and in this box or this column right here, I'm going to multiply both of those numbers by 2. In the next box, I'm going to multiply both of them by 5, and in the next box, I'm going to multiply both of these numbers by 7. I'm going to fill in the numbers now. See if you can figure out what numbers I'm going to be writing in here while I do this, and then I'll show you here in a few seconds. So, I do my math here, 28, that number would go here, and that number would go here, and that number would go here. So let's see if you came up with the same numbers as I did. So let's say you were asked to write three equivalent ratios for the ratio 4:7. One of them would be 8:14. Notice that I multiplied both of the numbers by 2. Another equivalent ratio would be 20:35. Notice that in this one I multiplied both numbers by 5. And then the last example right here, I multiplied both numbers by 7 to get the equivalent ratio of 28:49. Now, you can also use division as long as you use a common factor. So let's take a look at this division example. We have a ratio 96:48. In the first box, I divided both numbers by 2. 96 divided by 2 is 48. And 48 divided by 2 is 24. So therefore we could say that the ratio of 96:48 is equivalent to 48:24. In the next box over, I divided both numbers by 4. And then I got another equivalent ratio, 24:12. In the last box over, I divided both of my original numbers by 8. And found another equivalent ratio of 12:6. It's important that you have to find a common factor when dividing. Let's talk about rates now. A rate compares two quantities that have different units of measure. And when that comparison is to just one unit, we call it the unit rate. The word per, P-E-R, is often used to separate the units. For example, when we talk about somebody's heart rate, we usually describe that in beats per minute. If we talk about the speed limit, we refer to that as miles per hour. Let's talk about a babysitting example. Let's say your rate of pay is $8 per hour and you work for 4 hours. How much money did you make? To solve it, use multiplication. 8 times 4 is 32. Now let's create a question out of that same example. Let's say you earned $56 and we know your rate of pay is $8 per hour. How many hours did you work? For this one, we can use division. 56 divided by 8 equals 7. I'm going to step away from the camera for a few seconds and let you try some problems on your own, and then I'll be back in just a little bit. Well, I hope this video was helpful to you with your study of ratios and rates. And in case you were wondering, yes, I did eat the marshmallows and M&Ms. I did not, however, eat the stickers. Until next time, this is Mr. Earl saying, stay safe and be kind to one another. So long.